Okay, so we're back again. I would like to kindly ask you if you would like to move forward. It would be a lot nicer for you and for us. Okay, so we're moving on. However, before we move on, I'd like to make a quick little comment regarding the previous panel, which was extremely interesting. I believe we are going through a challenge. However, it's not the first time. Mr. Drew also mentioned it yesterday. We've been through COVID, geopolitics going on, tariffs, but we're the World Trade Center and we make things happen. So I'm sure we have to have a positive overview of everything and things will develop, we'll be good. So, before I introduce our chairman, I would like to say for translations, there is a new Wordly link. It's on the screen, so please feel free to scan it and download it. Without wasting any more time, it's time to kick off the Real Estate Summit. Please welcome to the podium our chairman of the World Trade Center Association, Mr. John Drew.
Well, thank you all for leaving coffee and juice and coming in here right now. I think it's much more interesting outside when we're all mingling and talking to each other. I think everyone's very happy. But we have a real estate summit this afternoon that we're putting on because so many of our members have asked about the real estate side of the World Trade Center Association and what's going on. Before I begin, though, I have down there, and I can't see him anymore, John Adeliki, who is a great friend of mine, of this association, and was a board member for many years. He represented Nigeria, all of Africa for us over the years by speaking on our behalf. Lives in London some of the time, meets us at meetings once in a while, and I'm delighted, John, you could be here. So, one of the great guys of this, one of the great people of this association, built it all up. So, I'm glad he's in this room, and I'm glad I was able to sort of call him out because he's a great guy. Anyhow, when it comes to real estate with the association, we have a very interesting picture to paint. Many of our buildings are very special in their respective cities. They're iconic. They're recognized. Many of our other buildings are not. They're in basically, they sit within office buildings, and they're one tenant in an office building. We don't necessarily have to have a name on the building, though we'd like to have a name on the building. How to go about doing office development, or how to go about building a World Trade Center or exhibition hall, conference center, is a very complicated business. We have within our family people who are very knowledgeable, and it's always, I think, one of the best things we can offer when people come forward who want to, in fact, get a license, the opportunity to meet with colleagues of theirs who represent part of that real estate world that they're interested in. Conference and meetings, commercial office space, hospitality facilities. So you can find that knowledge within the association. But we need, I think, what we're trying to do today is get a little bit deeper into the real estate industry, talk more about the investments, where the investments may be coming from. Given we just had a wonderful panel of very, very knowledgeable people speaking about tariffs and the world economy and what's going to be happening as best they can see it over the course of the next few years. One of those members up here was talking about Pacific investments and funds that are funding real estate, and what they're looking for in the way of investment opportunities in safety in their investments. So, I mean, underlying all of the real estate industry right now, from my perspective back in the States, we're working in Boston, we're working in Washington, we're working in Atlanta, Georgia. So we've had projects in all those places, different projects, and a hotel, some housing, commercial office space. And the demands for that, for hotels, demands for housing right now in those three cities are very, very strong. The demand for office space isn't. And it's because of the pandemic and people not coming back to the offices the way they did before the pandemic. People aren't necessarily working from the office 5 days a week. As a result, the amount of office space a company may need is less than they did before the pandemic because on a given day, they have fewer people in the office. So that's affecting rates, it's affecting occupancy. So every country, every part of the world has a different story to tell. And I think one of the things we can do as an association is make sure we share those stories so that you have up-to-date information as to what's happening in different parts of the world, what's happening in Europe, Western Europe versus Eastern Europe, Africa, Western Africa, Southern Africa, or the Middle East. So we need to do a better job, I think, of just communicating that more easily. We have a MAC committee that is very knowledgeable that's set up dealing with real estate. We're going to ask to publish more information so you can get more information more easily. So there's a number of things that we'll pursue in response to your request to have more time spent on real estate. I also just want to point out a couple of things I've learned just in the past couple of days. I had the opportunity yesterday to sit with a team from China World Trade Center, which is Beijing. Remarkable project, by the way. It's been a member for 20 years or more. It's a project that encompasses a whole shopping center, a hotel, a five-star hotel, 2 office buildings, residential housing towers, and is prospering very, very, very nicely right now. It has for many years. But they've taken on a responsibility as a developer, as the World Trade Center of Beijing. They're now sponsoring 2 schools. They're also building out in the countryside a bridge for a highway. So, I mean, we have some really remarkable people in family. They have a lot to say about, and they can share a lot of information. So that's what we're about to start doing here today in a more organized fashion. So you'll hear throughout the afternoon from different people and their perspectives about real estate, what the demand looks like, where their financing may be coming from. What you have to be prepared to do to, in fact, get financing into your business. So I hope that you get a lot from today's program. It's a long program, but it's stretching throughout the afternoon. But I think there should be elements of this program that will be I hope the whole program is very valuable to you, but I think there'll certainly be elements of the program that will work out to meet your interest or meet your questions. So thank you very much for listening and the time, and I'm going to turn it over back to Anthony now, so he'll guide us on our way. So thank you.
Thank you, John. Always very passionate when you're talking, and we really appreciate you, and we're happy to have you as our chairman. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm thrilled to introduce the next session, which is the Global Capital Flows, FDI Trends, Reshaping Real Estate and Infrastructure. So who's talking? The conversation is led by Mr. Meran Eftekar, Director of World Trade Center Cyprus and member of the WTCA Board of Directors. Feels fun introducing my boss, one of my bosses. Meran is joined by Jacopo De Toni, editor of FDI Intelligence for the Financial Times. Together, they will discuss emerging FDI trends, shifting investor priorities, and the impact of economic shifts, geopolitics, and sustainability on global investment strategies. Gentlemen, please come on stage.
Thank you very much for that introduction. Just a little bit more. Jacopo, please correct me if I am making a mistake, is the editor of the specialized magazine, the Foreign Direct Investment of Financial Times. He is well known in the foreign direct investments. He has been in Latin America, he has been in Europe, he has been in Asia Pacific, covering trade and investment processes. He also has a degree, master's degree, from the Catholic University in Milan, covering the same subject.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for the introduction.
Okay.
Great homework.
Great. Could you tell us which real estate sectors, the commercial, residential, or industrial, are currently more attracting more direct investments?
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you, Meran, and thank you for the association for having me, Anthony, John, and Robin for the invitation. It's a great pleasure to be here, and it's also a very timely period of our recent history, and I guess it's great to be sharing ideas and thoughts with this particular community. As always said, this big emphasis on trade and global trade and investment. As regards to your question, I would have to say that foreign direct investment, when it comes to real estate, for investors, up until a few years ago, they would typically look at commercial real estate. They would typically, most like as first point of entry in a new market, commercial real estate. But we've also seen that over the past couple of years, particularly during after the COVID pandemic, but this is probably a trend that started a bit earlier. We have seen a bit of a rebalancing of foreign direct investment into real estate towards residential and towards other asset classes like industrial and sub-asset classes within industrial and residential. I think, for example, of student housing, residential, or data centers now has become pretty hot in the segment of industrial. And I think that this fits well some of the dynamics we're seeing in the market, dynamics between offer and demand. If we talk about residential across geographies, and I'm sure that many share this experience, I keep hearing all the time the fact that there is a big mismatch between supply and demand. And the reason why foreign investors would not necessarily go too much into residential in the past was the fact that residential has typically been more of a domestic investor play. It's more parceled in a way that obviously you build housing units and you sell them. But now there are like different models of doing residentials. There are different ways to build a scale. There are different ways to create bundles of services to add values. There are also like many incentives across geographies to build to rent. And also there are like this idea of chasing the renters for choice, like people that could afford buying a house, but they decide to rent for flexibility and for personal choices. Which makes them like, good renters and guarantees, I guess, over the times a steady revenue flow. And then obviously there are also sustainability considerations that come into play. And obviously when it comes to industrial, and this is something that we can touch upon, industrial real estate, industrial assets, particularly in Europe, particularly in the US, have been the demand have been shored up by what we are seeing in terms of geopolitics, or rather, I would even go beyond geopolitics. Like the shift of bringing back some of the manufacturing in the idea of nearshoring or reshoring goes back before even this new Trump administration or the latest stages of the Biden administration. During the pandemic, many manufacturers found out, or rather like acknowledged or became really aware of the risks of having their production base concentrated in China or in Southeast Asia. And so to diversify, to make their supply chains more resilient, they started bringing back some of those activities. And obviously with Biden's industrial plans and now with Trump and Europe pretty much doing the same, there is a big comeback. There is a lot of demand originating in this comeback of manufacturing activities from Asia and elsewhere, which is not necessarily being met by by a lot of supply, particularly like in Europe. There is a lot of dismissed industrial land, which does not necessarily fit the bill for the new demand that comes from manufacturers these days. And so this is also a bit of a conundrum for the developers and the policymakers. How do we make existing industrial land appealing to the eyes of investors? I was covering very recently this big project in northern Italy, and it's a dismissed. It was an old electronics company. It used to be one of the pioneers of electronics in Italy, and then they over the years they went basically bust, and that particular site was dismissed. And now there was a battery company that wanted to take it because there are very good power connections. But then they started arguing with the policymakers at regional and national level who is going to remediate the site. There is a lot of contamination from previous industrial activity. Who is going to bear the cost of that remediation? And they couldn't find an agreement because it was also a pretty hefty sum of money, and eventually the investor decided to go elsewhere. So this is some of the challenges and opportunity that come from this wave of comeback reshoring manufacturing. And then lastly, obviously, the main asset for investors I've always looked at was commercial. And I think that retail and leisure, they are still doing pretty well for as far as we can see. Obviously, offices, there are headwinds, and I think it really depends on where you are in terms of what is the outlook on office properties. In this country, in France, in Paris, there are 5 million square meters of vacant office space as we speak. That's never been that high. That's a lot of office, and it's also very difficult, even though now there is a big push by the industry to change the zoning and the permitting around those properties and to make some of them residential properties. It's a very slow process. In the meantime, those offices are vacant, and somebody is probably losing money on those offices. In other markets, I understand in the US, people are coming back to work pretty at higher rates. Definitely where I'm based, London, it's been gradual, but there is a big push, particularly from the financial industry, to bring people back to the office. And this this creates some leeway before probably the next big disruption that is AI that is already disrupting the workforce.
Thank you. What are the markets in your knowledge which are attracting the foreign direct investments more?
Okay, so if we talk again specifically about real estate, definitely over the past few years we've seen countries from the Middle East becoming big recipients of foreign direct investment in real estate. Again, they probably tick many of the boxes that I mentioned. Definitely in terms of scale, it's hard to match what's happening in a place like Saudi Arabia over the past couple of years. A country that was pretty much sealed, closed up to the outer world, either obviously for Muslim pilgrims, but it was definitely not a place where foreign investors would necessarily go and do business in. The scale and also the pace of what's happening there has been staggering to some extent. Not everything is happening as they say it's happening. There are a lot of uncertainties due to the fact that probably the ambitions are in some cases somewhat unrealistic. Like the famous line is definitely not happening, or is not happening as a line as they claimed at the beginning, but many others are happening. Riyadh, it's an open air construction site where everywhere you go, the scale of the construction development that you see around, is mind-blowing. So definitely Saudi Arabia has been one of them, and around the region, other than Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Dubai, but also Abu Dhabi are already big recipients of real estate for investment. And then there are other major projects in the area around in country like Egypt, for example. Those are typically region-to-region projects, so the developers from the UAE are very involved in Egypt, developers from Saudi Arabia are very involved in Egypt, developers from Turkey are very involved around the region. But definitely, if you look at over the past few years, the Middle East has been a growing destination of foreign direct investment real estate.
Thank you. Now, the current question. The current geopolitical events, how do these events affect the foreign direct investment?
The elephant in the room. We haven't even mentioned Donald Trump once so far. So, and we are already 12 minutes into the interview. So this is remarkable. But I have to say that I agree with what Anthony mentioned at the beginning. It's going to be good. This is not. Sometimes there has been an emphasis on the fact that the challenges that we face are unprecedented, and I would argue that any new thing is unprecedented by definition in the first place. But secondly, there is a line that I love from an author, Leona Shriver, that she said that sometimes when she reads that something is unprecedented, is due to the blinkering vanity of the present, right? We like to think that it's unprecedented, but the reality of things is that throughout human history, challenges and disruptions have always happened. So I definitely share the optimism. Definitely, so if you look at what's happening through the lens of real estate, okay, we can look at geopolitics, but we can also look at another few disruptions. I like to think of this as a three-body problem, but maybe now it's probably, through the lens of real estate, is a four-body problem. And the four bodies are geopolitics, digitization and AI, sustainability, and let's also discuss demographic and aging of the population. That also has a big impact on the profile of real estate developments. So obviously geopolitics, we discussed already, reshoring, nearshoring, reshoring is a big driver of demand for industrial assets. There are also big challenges. I think of obviously all the trade disruptions that is happening now. What is the outlook on trade infrastructure? What is the outlook on ports? What is the outlook on logistics infrastructure? If trade war happens, a full-fledged trade war unfolds, what is the outlook on those on that infrastructure? And also, let's also not forget that a lot of this can then reinforce the second element, that is digitization, that we can discuss in a second. And then obviously, what geopolitics and what's happening now, it's also affecting prospects of growth and inflation, which also is going to have an impact possibly on interest rates, with all the consequences that you're all very familiar with. Like right now, there is a lot of conversation around what is the Fed is going to do in the US. Are they going for growth? Are they going to tackle inflation? Trump definitely has got already an answer to this question, but ultimately it's Jay Powell that still calls the shots on that. So on that front, we will see. But then obviously digitization, right? I think that this is a big disruption across the whole economy. When I mentioned reshoring in the context also of digitization and trade barriers, trade wars, there are already many technologies that allow so-called 3D printing, additive manufacturing. And maybe trade wars are a catalyzer to accelerate that development. Definitely, there has already been a big push to bring producers closer to final customers with shortened value chains. Additive manufacturing is the ultimate last mile delivery, right? In a way that it shortens even further the value chain of manufacturing, including property development. I'm sure that you're familiar with additive manufacturing in industrial assets, in housing. It's just the first steps, but as anything in digitization and technology development these days, the assumption is that it's just going to get better. And the second big disruption, I mean, obviously digitization is a big field, but there are many. But this day, I think that the focus is on artificial intelligence. The kind of acceleration that we're seeing in artificial development technologies is another kind of mind-blowing development. And I think that it is going to have an impact on our models of working. It is going to affect the workforce, and it's not necessarily going to be a zero-sum game. I think that there will be a smaller workforce moving forward, a smaller need to confirm these headcounts. It's not going to happen overnight. I think that as always with these dynamics, there will be a lot of when part of the workforce goes into retirement, it will just not be replaced. And I think that it's going to be a big challenge for newcomers like fresh graduates to find their role in this job market. But ultimately, they will also be the best suited to navigate this new economy. The best kind of those that generationally are more familiar with navigating digital technologies, and also I think that they will be able to carve out their niche. But this has an impact on the future demand of office space across geographies, and I think that it's something that is accelerating very rapidly. And professional services is going to be impacted. There is always this idea that low value added jobs are going to go first. In this case, I'm not necessarily sure. Lawyers, junior lawyers that were drafting contracts are not necessarily that needed anymore. Coders, that up until yesterday, they were the most sought after profession in the market. They are facing dire times too. Well, obviously journalists, all professional services, they have to deal with this disruption that can be, not to be cliche, but at least in a transition phase, those that will be able to implement and use the technologies to boost and augment what they do are going to be the winners. And those that use it in a more passive way probably are going to be the losers, at least in this transition phase. So again, big impact on the real estate market. And then the other two, sustainability is nothing, obviously I'm not breaking news here. It's been a factor of relevance over the past few years. Now there is a bit of a pushback from the US administration, and also definitely from the European perspective, many people have the feeling that this has gone too far. So now the red tape around the ESG and sustainability is many would report that is somewhat stifling and slowing down a lot of investment decisions. At the same time, in many central business districts, particularly in a situation when there is possibly less demand going forward for office space, there has been a big flight to quality. Again, if I look it through the lens of London, where we are, there is a demand for prime office space as held up, if not as become even stronger, whereas the demand for and when I say prime real estate in this context of sustainability, obviously buildings with good energy efficiency, building that were built with looking at minimizing the environmental footprint. There is a lot of emphasis also from policymakers going into the environmental footprint of construction over regeneration, and this goes back also to what I was saying about France. in this case, regenerating offices into residential buildings is a bit of a red tape nightmare, but in other places less so. So sustainability in the context of adding value to prime real estate is something that is having a big impact and is definitely valued by demand in the market. And finally, aging. I think that in the life science segment as a real estate asset has become more and more prominent. And obviously this is also tied to the fact that as the population in the West ages, we need more and more solution to meet the needs of an aging population. And so life sciences products are across the board. In Paris, very recently, I was speaking to this asset manager, and they do labs for university, like life sciences labs next to universities, but private labs that work with universities. And she was saying that up until a couple of years ago, other than the UK and the US, there was no asset class as life sciences laboratories anywhere else, whereas now it's developing in a place like France and elsewhere. So this is also something that is worth mentioning.
Okay, great. You mentioned ESG and the sustainability. How does this affect decision making for a foreign investor?
Well, as I said, if we look at asset managers, particularly European asset managers, they have to comply with the ESG regulation, and they also have to comply with the profile, the ESG profile of their products. This is an important factor. And if we combine the idea that ESG adds value to your property, then it makes it even more appealing to the eyes of foreign funds that are looking for prime real estate in foreign markets. Also because we should not forget that if an asset manager is investing abroad, is going outside its comfort zone in a way, going into a foreign market, going into an economic landscape that it might not be necessarily very familiar with. So definitely looking for prime real estate is a way that many asset managers go about when it comes to approaching foreign markets, and ESG through these lenses adds value to what they are possibly interested in.
Do you know of any infrastructure projects coming up with significant investment values anywhere in the globe?
That's a broad geography to look at. But I would say that if we look at infrastructure as a whole, let's look, for example, at new cities. And this goes, the demographics angle to this is also nuanced, right? So we have two diverging demographic trends in the West and in the developing world. In the West, we are getting older, and our also life expectancy is increasing. In the developing world, and our population is shrinking by default, and in the developing world the population is booming. Like we look at not everywhere. Like China is also an exception. China is also facing a demographic cliff edge in a couple of years because of the one-child policy. But if we look at places like Africa, India, Asia Pacific, excluding China, these are populations that are growing and are growing very rapidly. And probably unlike in the past, when we had these demographic booms, many of these geographies are also going through an economic development where it's not just a rising population, it's also a rising middle class. So this creates a big demand for urban, in the context of urbanizations, let's not forget this. So this creates a lot of demand for new urban spaces. And so this creates also, this has resulted in many so-called new cities being put in the plans by policymakers at very different levels. If you think of, let's go beyond Saudi Arabia, where it's probably widely known, but there are, like, in Egypt, there is a new administrative capital being built. In Indonesia, there is a new administrative capital being built, not necessarily only for demographic reasons, but also because in that particular case for land subsidence in Jakarta. Basically, the city is really literally sinking. I think is going down by 2-3 centimeters per year, so they have to move, look ahead and move administrative capital and residential space in a different place. And that project has already broken ground. In the UK, there is also a massive housing crisis. The new government is promising to build 12 new towns. We're not looking at cities or mega cities in our particular case, but at least like 12 new towns. It's a big development in the context of the United Kingdom. So these are like big projects, and these are just like the ones that probably like still the headlines. But if we go back again to the African continent, there are many new cities developed, and interestingly, they are being developed, some of them also under new governance models. Sometimes the policymakers are slow to catch up and meet this demand, and so sometimes there are also public-private partnership models, if not even totally private models, to develop whole cities and maintain them and manage them. So I would look definitely at that space as a very interesting space for across obviously any sort of real estate asset, but probably we are talking mostly about residential, industrial, logistics, life sciences, universities, anything really that goes into making a city a thriving place for people to live.
Okay, great. And how does taxation affect foreign direct investment decision making for an investor? Is it a big factor?
Well, if you speak in public surveys, when they ask the foreign investor, at least in the results of public surveys, to foreign investors, it would never really come up high. But then you speak to foreign investors or investors, any investor personally, and would definitely come up very high. So I think it's undeniable that it's a big factor. I think that a favorable tax environment creates a conducive environment for investment too. Obviously, we should not look at taxation in a vacuum. It should be looked at in the context of what is the business landscape of that particular geography. But if all things being equal, it obviously makes a difference.
And in your knowledge, what are the general regulatory challenges for any new investor investing in real estate?
I think that it's probably the challenges that transcend probably real estate, right? So it's around permitting, it's around taxes, it's around bureaucracy, it's around funding talent. I think that talent is often an overlooked factor in investment decisions, particularly like in this ever innovative economy. Finding people with the right skills is a challenge. For many years, I've heard that we are facing a shortage of engineers. I would suspect that moving forward, we will hear more about the shortage of AI-specific talent. But this is definitely another bottleneck sometimes in investment decisions, as well as a typical infrastructure connectivity that could also be an issue.
Yeah, great. Now, a foreign investor do they normally take into account inflation, interest rates, fluctuations in the currency in making their decision making?
Well, I think so. Yeah, I think it's expectable in a way that.
I mean, the macroeconomics of the investment criteria.
Sure. The interest rates, they affect cost of capital, and therefore the higher the interest rates, the higher the cost of capital, and less availability for capex in general. So all these are factors. The outlook of local economies. So the whole macroeconomic picture has to be taken into account, but then it also depends on the sector of the specific sector of each foreign investor that could have like particular dynamics that may even go beyond or transcend the overarching macroeconomic environment.
Okay. Now, having said that, what do the investors use as a hedge against inflation, against foreign currency or interest movements? Is there a hedging tool?
I think that there are probably like two elements. There is a financial element and there is a more industrial element. The financial element is like typical forex hedging solutions, and it's more like it has more to deal with financial engineering side of things. From an industrial perspective, it really goes back to that sort of the dynamics that they played out in the wake of the COVID pandemic. So making your supply chain more diversified, more resilient. It could be the jury's out whether this means more vertical integration or not, but definitely a lot of companies went into the direction of like being more vertically integrated to the point of Tesla try to get control on specific mines, so not only the value chains, but also the beginning of the value chains of battery themselves. And they are not the only ones. There are different like automakers that try to build resilience along their own supply chain by going very far from the very production stage all along all the way to, for example, mining extraction. So these are different ways, and then obviously relying on other instruments like free zones is another possible way to hedge some of the volatility in a way that they offer a special business environment, and they also guarantee those incentives and that environment across a number of years, and so that is also a way or a possible instrument to hedge from general volatility.
Okay. From your broad knowledge of foreign direct investments, which are the up-and-coming cities attracting foreign direct investments?
Cities. I would probably say there are very interesting cities in Southeast Asia. Kuala Lumpur is a city that is attracting a lot of investment, and the critical mass of investment business being done in the cities has really gone through the roof over the years. Rather than specific city, probably I would emphasize tier 2 cities. I think that we got to a point where look at data centers. If you want to look at like through the lens of real estate, let's look at data centers. For many years, data centers, they tried to concentrate around demand, and demand was the strongest in the main business hubs. So if you look at Europe, we're looking at London, Frankfurt, Paris, and a few others. Now, because of constrained land availability, but also because of rising demand in geographies other than tier 1 cities, data centers are spreading out. Obviously, there are other bottlenecks. Power is another big bottleneck. But the bottom line is that there is a big redistribution of data center capacity beyond the tier 1 cities. And this is also happening in other segments, like hybrid working, hybrid model working, also create a situation where not everyone has to be clustered around the main business district. They can also live somewhere else. I have myself colleagues that they commute, not the typical 1 hour commute that you would do in and around London, but they come from 2 hours away. They come to the office for 3 days per week. They sleep in London, and then over on Thursday evening they go back to Birmingham, Bristol, wherever they're coming from. So I think that looking at a tier 2 city space in mature economies is another space where I see a lot of interest.
Okay. And the demographic changes, how is that affecting the foreign direct investments?
Yeah, as I said, like demographic is shoring up big time demand for life sciences assets. So demand for clinics, hospital, labs, and I think that this is just going to grow, not just because of aging population, as I said, because we are living longer, and demand for medical support will just increase over the years.
Okay. Two specific questions, which is always you read in the news. One is the real estate situation in China, and the other one is the office demand in the United States. What are your knowledge, thoughts on these two areas?
I mean, on China, I'll probably just say, I'm not an expert on Chinese real estate. I would just say what is common knowledge that there is massive overcapacity has been built over the years, and they are paying the price for that. As regards office space, I think that it goes back to something that we discussed. There are disruptions in the market. There are how this is going to play out in shaping up the new demand for real estate has yet to be determined. Meaning, imagine a situation where, because of artificial intelligence, a company with 100 employees now needs only 30 employees, right? But maybe instead of like turning around like $100 million in revenues, they can do $300 million revenues with just a third of the workforce, just because of the productivity boost of AI. Well, so how is the demand of real estate or that company going to be impacted? With more availability of maybe like that revenues also translates into clearly and neatly into more profits. Will they be willing to give their reduced workforce a bigger environment to work in? So will they be willing to maintain their office space, but make it more comfortable, maybe with different facilities for their reduced workforce? You can add the gym, you can add the leisure room, you can add you name it, right? Or will they go for the efficiency drive, cut costs, and instead of the whole building, they're going to just have one floor of that building? I think that this has yet to be determined how it plays out, but acknowledging the disruption. So there has been the remote working disruption during the pandemic. I think that created a bit of an overreaction also due to circumstances in the specific context of lockdowns. So we probably went to a full extreme. Now we are coming a little bit back towards a situation where there are hybrid models of working. And I think that at least for what I see, 3 to 4 days per week it has become the new norm. Definitely, I don't see a lot of people going back to the office on Fridays, but Monday to Thursday, Monday is a bit quieter than it used to be, but then it's coming back pretty quickly. And companies are also being culturally more assertive in bringing people back to the office. But the next wave is going to come from artificial intelligence, and it's going to come pretty quickly. I see the wave mounting day by day, and so acknowledging the wave and trying to ride it rather than being hit by it, I think is where, again, is gonna define winners and losers.
Okay, great. Jacopo, thank you very much. We have 4 minutes left, so any questions from... I haven't seen any questions on the... one question here. You mentioned about mismatch of supply and demand real estate investment space, but at the same time, so much liquidity, dry powder is the reason of the fact of bankable projects.
This is a great question. Who asked this question? Perfect. Yeah, this is a fantastic question. So it's true. Like there is a big mismatch between demand and supply of bankable projects. I think that this is where also there is a big opportunity for the development of a more mature marketplace or more mature marketplace solutions. I've always there was an interview with. Very recently, a couple of years ago, with the CEO of Aviva, an insurance company, and she mentioned clearly that one of the big bottlenecks that she sees in the market is the fact that many, she was talking about infrastructure projects in particular, many infrastructure projects, you know about them, it's a bit of a word of mouth. There is not, it's the many infrastructure projects, even big infrastructure projects, remain on the table of like second level planners at city level, and maybe it's a $50 million investment gross development value, or maybe even more, and still they are hardly advertised. So I think that one possible way to look at it is that there should be a bit of an Amazon, imagine like an Amazon marketplace for real estate development projects, where you know that you go there as a developer and you find what you're looking for, and as well as if you are a city planner, you know that by putting your project there, you are going to find a stir up interest for your project. I think that even though this is kind of also where while there are many disruptions in the markets, there are also many things that are many pockets of opportunity. This is a digital economy, but still it's very hard to find a central repository of bankable projects. Then maybe obviously there are also issues with okay, how do we define bankable? How do we make sure that the projects that are put on the marketplace are actually vetted and checked by reliable advisors or consultants that they put the tick and say this is a bankable project. So this is a whole other level of complexity. But at the same time, I challenge each one of you to go on the internet now and find a reliable repository of major real estate developments.
Thank you. We have only 30 seconds, so...
Quick one.
Very quick one to conclude the session, if anybody has any questions.
For yeah, another. I would if we go demographics, I would look at Asia Pacific and Africa. Obviously, Middle East is probably not news, but Asia Pacific, like again, tier 2 cities, places like India. If the level of need of urban development, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities in countries like India, Asia Pacific countries, and definitely African economies that are getting to their critical mass of development, Kenya, South Africa, Nigeria, Senegal. We wrote recently a story about Senegal. Very difficult market to do business in, so it's going to be probably like a lot of bumps along the way. but growth may come from those markets.
Thank you very much for
Thank you for
your
the conversation, Maran.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please.
Jacopo, Mr. Meran, thank you very much. That was very interesting. A great way to kickstart the Real Estate Summit. I'm sure they put a lot of things in our minds today. It was interesting to hear, after Ed's question, which looks to be the next developing areas. And for sure, yes, I think people are taking that into consideration very seriously. So let's go to our next session. Global capital flows. No, sorry. You don't want to hear that again, do you? Just to say, okay. It's a live show, so you have to excuse me. Okay, so the Global Spotlight World Trade Center projects in focus. This session highlights the latest projects and innovations from WTC-branded businesses around the globe, showcasing their impact on urban transformation, business ecosystems, economic growth. So to introduce this session, I would like you all to please welcome one of the most active World Trade Centers, WTC Mumbai, and specifically the chairman, Mr. Vijay Kalantri of Mumbai and WTCA board member. Mr. Vijay.
Good afternoon. Good noon, I can say, because it's 12 o'clock. So, we are one of the, first of all, let me thank John and team for giving me this opportunity. But we are one of the first World Trade Center in India. You can call it premier. And we are still twin towers. You are twin tower in New York, we are twin towers in Mumbai. We were established in 1970 when the World Trade Center movement started. And we have twin towers, which is about, if you call about construction, we have got over 1 million square feet twin towers, as well as we have exhibition center, we have WeWork facilities, and we have great offices in our center. If you talk about focus, we are going to have 3 more World Trade Centers, Goa, Jaipur, and Bhubaneswar, which are under progress. The trade services and other facilities we have started, but the other construction and other activities. Why we thought of World Trade Center and why we thought of joining World Trade Center? That everybody should know. It's one of the great brands of the world. This is a concept which is not there anywhere in the world. No other organization can be compared to this organization. There are many chambers of commerce, there are many others, but they don't have so many branches, like 100 countries, 302 World Trade Center. It's a big brand. So brand creates value, and this brand has created great value. Whoever has used it well, whoever has delivered the goods have benefited, not only by financial, but also by name and image. See, finance is one part, name and image is also a big thing. When you say somebody that you are going to World Trade Center, you are not only going to World Trade Center, you are not only a member of World Trade Center, you represent a city, and that's important. So we represent not only World Trade Center New York, we also represent our country's city. And in each city we have one World Trade Center. That's what our concept is. We have commercial complexes, we have WeWork facilities, we have business centers, we also have exhibition center, we also have regular trade services and regular meetings, interacting with people. Anybody from World Trade Center across the globe is welcome to Mumbai World Trade Center. Mumbai, Goa, Jaipur, and Bhubaneswar. These are we always facilitate whatever we can do at our level. And we try to do that. We have hosted 2 general assemblies, we have hosted spring meet, we have hosted regional meetings from time to time. And we like to facilitate trade, we like to promote the brand, and we like to say, have a World Trade Center in your city. My other colleague director from India is there, Vineet, Bangalore World Trade Center, and many others is under construction for him. 2 or 3 must have come up, 2, 3 may more come up. And he will exceed me, I know, but I'm happy because he's following me, and I'm more happy because he's going to surpass me. So it's always good to have a good competition, you know. And it's not a competition, it's a reciprocity, you can call it, or it's a friendship complementary to each other. I feel that World Trade Center, we should have, besides real estate, trade services, exhibition. This was the original concept, and communication center, so that you are able to retain its image, its prestige. If you have only real estate and then you get out of it, has no business. If you have other facilities like hotel and all, still better, which we are thinking of doing it in Mumbai. We are trying to come out with a hotel project next to our World Trade Center because we have got a land for the project. And that might come up very soon, 5-star hotel or something. So what we feel is, because at present we don't need, because next to us there are many 5-star hotels and facilities. So whatever, we also run World Trade Center Institute, that is Education Institute. And till today, 70,000 students have graduated from our institute. Every year, about 100, 120 students. In that we run how to start business, how to start MSME, how to export, how to have expertise in logistics and communication, how to promote business. These are the courses we run from time to time. Then now we have started a skill development center to create skills among the entrepreneurs. Women Entrepreneur Center. Teach them what they can do. And then also they, as a India, world needs 5 crores. 5 crores, we say, how many? 10 millions, 5 million people from India as experts for various services. So India has promoted skill development centers in various, we are also part of the state government skill development center. So we are running that also. So various programs and opportunities we create to build up the image, to build up the brand, and also to see that how we can facilitate trade, business, and offices. Like we have one of the best tenant like Exim Bank of India. The Export-Import Bank of India is part of the tenant of the World Trade Center Mumbai. IDBI, the most big bank, Industrial Development Bank of India. They are also our tenants. Like Nuclear Corporation of India, the India Heavy Electrical Company, which are all government of India and state government. In Maharashtra government's Industrial Development Corporation also is part of our tenant. So these are all prestigious offices which are housed in our building. And we are very happy and proud because they feel that this is a correct place for us to be doing business. And this is where the business is promoted. Because the visitors who come from across India or across the globe, they see World Trade Center. They see, we must also have similar building. And that's where the promotion of brand, image of brand. And we have maintained the building, which was 50 years back, and today you see it the same. If you come to the building, I think John has come, my lot of friends from here have come there, and they have seen. My colleague, Vice Chairman Batra is here. So we all work together as a team and see that how we can promote the image of World Trade Center, how we can brand it well, and keep the prestige and image intact, and see more and more people join the bandwagon of World Trade Center. Anything more you want me to speak? Or that's enough? Because he gave me 5 minutes, I thought 5 minutes is enough.
How many of the trade centers have you helped create?
See, I have helped about more than 5 or 6 trade centers in India. Of course, Bangalore I supported first, but then they have grown 6, so I can take credit for all. And besides, that, you know, not only in India, but I have supported also in Kenya, which now I think they have become, they are not active. But then I supported in Mauritius. We supported Ambuja. We supported Accra. So from India, we have supported this. coming up a World Trade Center. So I think you should not only look at your country, and you should not only look at your state, but you can support outside your country also. And now also, I want to give you one clue that I have spoken to various CIS countries, because I represent also as an honorary consul of Uzbekistan. I am in India, I represent them. So I have told them that why not? All the CIS countries, they have an economic zone, so they have called me to their foreign ministers meet next month when I'm going to talk to them. Okay, why don't you have one World Trade Center in all CIS countries? So we are doing that also. Like Russell Khema, he told me that we want to have, so I said our headquarters that you have them. So, whenever people meet us, we talk to them about World Trade Center. I said, why don't you have, if they don't have World Trade Center in your country, please have. So whatever we can do, I think we Indians believe that we grow and let people grow. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vijay. One thing you didn't say is the great hospitality that you offer anyone that does come to your WTC. We've witnessed this, and it's true. So next on stage is Dubai, flashy Dubai, and World Trade Center, Mr. Diego Cortez.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the introduction. We'll try to keep the flashy side on the low key. But we do have some flashy projects that I want to share with you today. I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with Dubai. Often the perception is flashy, bigger, faster, and the most exuberant project. I think we're hopefully past that point right now, and we're building on very solid commercial and business foundation, and this is what I want to share with you today. So why Dubai? For those of you who are not very familiar with Dubai, it's really a gateway to the world. And the way Dubai established itself is a central hub in the wider region, Middle East, Africa, Southeast Asia. So we have a third of the global population living within a 4 hours flight radius from Dubai. And this also helped us back in 2020 to attract the World Expo due to the connectivity. And obviously we have India as a neighbor. Yes, you're always there, and you help boost these numbers on the 4 hours flight radius, because So thank you for that. Yeah, we're sometimes an extension to India, but we're certainly also a gateway for people wanting to do business in India. So there's very, very strong tie between both countries. Also the population, this number, we're almost reaching 4 million people right now living in Dubai. And I don't know if some of you were there yesterday during the session, but this number has grown remarkably in the last 4 or 5 years since COVID. Post the crisis, we've been able to attract a lot of new people moving into Dubai, setting up business into Dubai, and we've worked really, really hard into making reducing the red tape and making it a friendly environment to start up your business. And with the growth of digital services, it's been a key priority. So we've focused on that, and it is paying off. We're connected to over 200 destinations. We're one of the busiest airports in the world, and we offer visa on arrival to, the slide says 74 nationalities. I think by now we're probably at 90. So it's really, really easy for us to get people in. And again, it's a key priority for us because we want people to come and use Dubai as a trade hub. So the opportunity, specifically on the real estate side, in the last 4 years, we've also seen a massive boom in real estate, commercial, residential, and industrial real estate. The value in 2024 of investments was exceeding $200 billion. And we've seen a year-on-year growth in volumes of transaction of 36%, and 20% in value. And I'm showing this number as a year on year, but it's been the same trend over the past 4 or 5 years. So absolutely massive boom and great opportunities. So this will lead me to what we will be doing. Sorry, this slide's repeated. And what Trade Center is primarily. So John, you mentioned earlier in your speech, World Trade Center, our buildings, famous building UVJ. You also mentioned about Twin Towers and stuff like that. So just to explain how it all started, I'm carrying here, this is a 100 dirham banknote from the UAE with the World Trade Center building on it. So that's the only one. That's fantastic. So this is actually, that's the landmark. So I am not distributing those afterwards, right? So you took a picture, it's fine. And this thing all started in 1979, which is 46 years ago, and I recall that number very easily because it's 20 years before I was born. I'm just checking if you guys are good in math because I gave a few numbers in there. No, it's actually coinciding with my year of birth. So we inaugurated it in 1971, and it all started as a trade hub and a business tower, and back then was the highest skyscraper in the Middle East. And eventually we moved into a full ecosystem for trade and commerce, and that's what I want to emphasize now. So today, our portfolio at Dubai World Trade Center is a mix of exhibition space. We have 3 large exhibition centers that we own and that we operate. We have commercial office space, over 2 million square feet of commercial office space, so that's 200,000 square meters, give or take. We have residential apartment, over 260,000 square meters of residential units. We have 4 hotels in our land bank, all managed by the Group Accor, brands including Ibis, Novotel, 25 Hours more recently. And we also have 3,000 units of residential serviced apartment units, so again, to supplement our business. But this, the core of our business, and coming back to what you were saying before, is exhibitions and trade fairs. So this is really the bulk of what we do. And the rest is all supporting this ecosystem by providing facilities for the companies to establish a presence and have offices or live on site in our premises. So specifically on MICE, that's what I'm going to emphasize today. I want to share with you the flagship project that was just announced in November of 2024 by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, who's the Vice President of the UAE and the ruler of Dubai. He just approved our project, a $2.7 billion expansion project of the Dubai Exhibition Center. And I'll share with you what this means. Yesterday, sorry, there's a few numbers. Don't look too much at the slide. I'll give you just the pinpoint what's important. Yesterday we spoke about build it and they'll come. I think we've moved away from this mindset of building and build it and they'll come. We currently have very, very solid foundation. The Dubai World Trade Center, our MICE business, contributes $5 billion to the GDP. So that's the economic output that we generate today for the city of Dubai. And the projection that we see is that over the next 10 years, now it's a little less, it's 8 years, we're going to triple that economic contribution. And that's going to happen by doubling the amount of events that we're hosting, the big exhibitions, the large conferences, and also growing these events intrinsically. So we double the number and we triple the economic output. And that for us is paramount because this is what's been establishing the city as a trade hub. And we see MICE as at the core of promoting your city and attracting eventually further foreign investments and attracting companies to relocate and establish their headquarters for the region in Dubai. So that's really the key priority for us. And this project basically relies on a solid foundation of mega events that we currently have in our portfolio. So what you see here is we have all the key sectors, healthcare, food, tech, construction, tourism, energy, automotive, consumer lifestyle. All of these events there that you see, the brands on top of the slides, these are key exhibition brands that are maxing out the current facilities that we have. So the Trade Center legacy side is 120,000 square meter of exhibition space, and all of these events are maxing out the space. So now we need to make sure that we support the growth of these events, which is why the DEC is coming into play. And we're going to be adding over the next 5 years in phases, a total of 180,000 square meters. So we're going to build a site which is 1.5 times the size of the current trade center, and the current trade center will remain. So with that, we think by the time we actually finish the project, we think that we might have exhausted also our capacity, and we'll need to think of the next phase. But that will come in time. So today, we're not starting from scratch because we have an existing premises of 58,000 square meter, which was built at the time of Expo 2020. So this was the first part of the building. We have 6 exhibition halls and all the facilities, which is highlighted here in blue. Everything on the right, everything on the left of that is the expansion project. And it will be built all together into 3 phases. And once completed, is going to reach 180,000 square meter of fully integrated, fully connectable exhibition halls. So what you see there is, on the one side, in one single event, you have a span of 1.2 kilometer between the top and the end of the halls. And all of that will be seamlessly connected, and you can host one mega event. So this venue, by design, is extremely efficient. So for us, when we look at these numbers, having a trade center legacy site with 120,000 square meter and the DEC future exhibition site at 180, we don't see these square meters as comparable because the yield that you get in the 180,000 square meter, what you can resell as an exhibition to exhibitor, is way more efficient. So if you host to give you an example, if you host an exhibition at Dubai World Trade Center, you'll probably get a yield of 50% of the space that you can sell net. When you do it at DEC, you get a yield of 62, 63% net. So for every exhibition organizer, this site is the future because they'll all make more money and they'll all utilize the space much better and more efficiently. And besides that, the construction as well of the site is 20% more efficient on energy consumption and is 50% more efficient on water consumption. So this has also been key design priorities. Okay. The expansion will happen in 3 phases, and it's starting in January 2026 with the 2 of our largest shows, Gulf Food and Arab Health. So this project is good underway, and the first phase of 140,000 square meter is delivered in 26. In 2028, we'll deliver the second phase going to 160,000, and in 2031, we will complete it with 180,000 and an adjacent hotel to that site. These are the renderings I'm just going to quickly skip through it. We're using 2 times the steel used in an Eiffel Tower to build these expansion halls, to give a comparative number. And this is what's happening on the site. I'll just show you a video of the construction, which is right now happening. That's it. Thank you very much. And thank you to our Chinese friends for all the steel, because all the steel is fabricated from China and all been delivered. Yeah.
Thank you, Diego. That was wow. Thank you very much. So next coming on stage is WTC Saltillo, Edgar Braham. Welcome to the stage.
Hello. Can you hear me? Yes. Oh, thank you. Well, thank you very much for having me on stage and showcasing the World Trade Center Saltillo. I will tell you a little bit about the city. It's, of course, complicated to present right after Dubai, which is just a huge project. And, of course, I ask you to be mindful of the differences of the cities. But we're very excited. We're one of the newest licenses in the network, about a year and a half ago. And so let me start, because I have very short time. Sorry about that. So I put this because normally when we present this is the first slide we always have. And I want to show this because I think it's very important for all of us to communicate and to try to convey what the network is and what the World Trade Center brand means. So we always talk about the brand. You don't need to read it all because you all know it. We talk about the value of the brand, and then we talk about the value for real estate, right? Because this is the main thing for our partners when we want to bring them into the project. I went really fast because I don't have much time, but I just wanted to show you what we're doing. So what is our vision of the World Trade Center Saltillo? And I will go and show you a little bit about the city, but our vision is to become a new global icon in the city, right? We want to make this more than just an office building, an ecosystem, a community that redefines commercial, residential, cultural environments, and of course, where life is celebrated and where we foster global connections. We always tell them that this is part of an exclusive network of buildings around the world. So we want to be at the level of that in this World Trade Center. And we think this will be a pivotal moment for the city of this World Trade Center arriving into Saltillo. Where is Saltillo? Many of you might ask yourselves, because you probably haven't heard about it. We're right in the north of Mexico, northeast Mexico. We call ourselves the gate to the north, not only northern Mexico, but also to North America. We have a confluence of many roads that come from the different ports and from Mexico City going up all the way up to Canada. We're a city of international trade, and we have direct access to the major supply chains of the North American economy. We're strategically positioned, as you might have seen. We have a very dynamic economy with about $13 billion exports in the city and imports of around $9 billion. We're also a national leader in safety in Mexico. We're one of the top 3 most safest cities in Mexico, and our state as well, which is the region, is also the second with the least homicides, for example, below international standards. So we have a very tight and prosperous community. We're also the most competitive city in Mexico for last year in the national ranking of IMCO, right above Monterrey and Mexico City, for cities above 1 million people. So as you can imagine, we are a very dynamic area. We also, our region is the second exporter in all of Mexico, and also the top transportation equipment exporting region. And another very important thing is that we have been with Monterrey in Mexico. We have been the center for nearshoring, or for this new wave of investments in Mexico. Now, a key and the last thing I showcase here is the talent. We have skilled professionals, many engineers, of course, but we're proud of this. So this World Trade Center, as you may know, we will focus on the trade services as well, because we're a trade city. So trade missions, trade shows, we're trying to bring more exhibitions to the city. We see a great opportunity there. And of course, foreign direct investment and nearshoring services to many of the expats that live around the city. We have companies from all over the world, from China, from the US is our largest investor, Japan, Germany, Canada. So we just have also India as well. And that's for services. So we're going straight to the development. These are the core values of our development. Security, we want people to feel safe, to feel comfortable. Community, we want it to be close to the person, close to the user. Commitment with the sustainability and social values, and as well innovation. We want to promote innovation within the development that we're working on. We want to go more than just an office building or a place to do business. We want to make it a community. That's the heart and the core of our project. Now the site is to the north of the city in the consolidation area of the city, next to the airport and next to all the major employment sources. Here, the blue are the big industrial areas. You see General Motors plant there. And then to the north, there's a huge area of where all the expats and most of the people work. And the airport, and then the Club Campestre, that's the best golf course in the city. So we're right in the middle of the highest value residential area in the city as well. Here, I always like to show it because it's a low density area right now, but it's the fastest growing area to the northeast. You see the most blue is where the high rates of growth of the city is happening. And of course, the highest red is the higher income of the households. So we're right in the spot where you have high income and high growth of the city. Who are we thinking about? The users, business people. Sorry about the man there. It was a translation from Spanish. It's business people, families, couple individuals, employees, and the expats that live in the city. You know, we always try to say, and we're catering to CEOs or director of the companies that are there, couples with kids, young professionals, the centennials or Gen Zs as well that are looking to a different way of living where they have everything close to them, and of course the expats that we have in the city. Now the program and the design came into the pillars I showed. I'm not going to stop a lot about this, but of course primary emphasis on the commercial, recreational, pedestrian, community, and also the business and the global aspects of it. This is a program. It has a business area with offices, co-working, a business club, and we're talking to a couple of local universities to have a business incubator there as well. The residential with hotel and vertical housing, commercial services. We like to say we have the 80-20 of whatever you need for a daily living there or working in the development. Of course, entertainment from the different market studies we've heard about. We know that wellness, entertainment, gastronomy, and self-care are the top desires of the people who come into this type of developments. And of course, the sports. Now, this is the master plan. We're putting a cycle path around the master plan. It's a almost 9-hectare project, but the first stage is 2 hectares, and we will be growing that. This is the core. This is what we're working on. everything is centered, the middle part is the restaurant. So we want everything to be just like here in Marseille, where you have the small restaurants and a lot of life. That's what we want to have here. That's our vision. Hotels, the tower will be mixed use as well, with offices, residential, hotel, and then retail in the bottom. And we are working right now to have a exhibition or a concert center next to it. We're still thinking if we might move it in a different area. We just had conversations last week about that, but that's the total development. We're already talking to a clinic to have offices for doctors and as well as a clinic there, cinemas, and then long-term for the residences and the sports center. This is our vision of how we want to have the convention hall. And these are the renders. As you can see, the middle, right in the middle is where all the life happens. This is like a view from the bottom. A lot of green spaces as well for people to enjoy, to sit down outside, so that you have a very welcoming space for working, living, and playing, as they say. And I think my time is up, so I'm going quite fast. But I hope you had a bit of. That's the actual landscape of the city. We have mountains all around. That was the amenities, and this is another of the renders. So I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Edgar. Definitely a place I think I would like to live and work, for sure. Looks very nice. Next on stage, Carlos Anglada from WTC Barcelona.
Bonjour Marseille, good morning. There must be someone in the organization that really hates me, because yesterday you made me talk after Shenzhen, and today you make me talk after Dubai and Saltillo. So please set up your minds. What you're going to see today has nothing to do with what you've been seeing. I will tell you about our story a little bit. I will tell you about what are we undertaking. Just, I don't know if most of you maybe have been in Barcelona, maybe you know our complex. World Trade Center Barcelona was built 25 years ago. Needless to say that 25 years ago, many of the things that we're taking care of today didn't even exist. So really, we have a lot of things to do. We have a lot of work to do, and we're willing to do it. So when I arrived at the World Trade Center Barcelona not long ago, not even 2 years ago, it was apparently a successful project. You know, it was almost full, things were happening, we were winning money, so why should we worry about anything? Although it was sending us some distress messages, you know, some signs of distress, and we really needed to listen to them. For example, we had an occupancy of 93%, which is fine. But if I tell you that the year before it was 96%, maybe then it's not that good then anymore. Our retail places were full, so why should we worry? Well, all our retail businessmen were telling us, all the tenants were telling us, and were asking us for fee reduction. And they were telling us that business was not good, business was going down. Second sign. And then the rent per square meter was one of the highest in Barcelona. Not the highest, the city center is higher, but we are the second highest, and we were at 22 euros per square, apart from water, lighting, and so on. So that was good, but it had fallen from 23 to 22. So there was something that wasn't working, and also we knew that in our business district, which is called 22 at, I don't know if some of you might know it, it was reporting 350,000 square meters non-used. So that was a huge competence in a quite nice area, maybe not as nice as where we are at, but and of course at half the price. So we decided that we had to do something, and so we started looking at it, we started studying, we did strategic planning, and we came up with 3 main things. We came up with many other things, but I'm going to talk to you about 3 things. For those of you who listened to my speech yesterday, you will see that it's all going on the same direction. We decided to act in first redefining the complex. So I would call that economical sustainability. Then we embraced sustainability and design, so environmental sustainability. And we opened our site to citizens, social sustainability. So let's have a look. Basically, what you will see here is just images. I will tell you about them. So, okay, first, as I said, redefining the complex, becoming a real business hub. World Trade Center Barcelona wasn't it was a real estate complex, or real estate promotion, or I don't know how to say, but it was not really a business hub. Being there didn't add value to our tenants, and that was our goal. We wanted to add value, we wanted to give them services, we wanted for them to feel that it was worth it to be there and paying a little bit more for being there. And the image of this change was the change that we undertook on our public space. So this is the center of the World Trade, this is the center of the World Trade Center in Barcelona. This is how it looked like when I arrived. This is how it looks like today. We are promoting connections, we are promoting impacts. We want people to go there, sit on those tables, eat, work, rest, have fun, whatever. This, you could say that this is our rooftop. It's on the ground level, but it's our rooftop. Also, we provided other services, parking for bikes, what we call the We Take Care room. We Take Care, WTC room, just for people to go there to rest, to present product, to do team building, whatever. So first point, increasing connections, focus on companies, and become a real business hub. First point. Second point, embracing sustainability and design. As I said before, the building itself is 25 years old, so we have a lot of things to do on that issue. We don't even have solar panels on our roof, just to give you an idea. So we are undertaking a very ambitious CapEx plan, which I'm not going to talk to you about. I don't want to get you bored. And instead, I'm going to tell you about the Blue Tech Port, which is a new real estate, I don't know how to say, project that we just got the concession from the port just last week. So all the architectural project is done, and works should be starting this year after in September, after summer. What is the Blue Tech Port? This is what it looks like now. It's 6 warehouses, 500 meters from the actual World Trade Center. This will be joining the World Trade Center ecosystem, but itself, it will host a blue economy hub. For yesterday, we all knew what blue economy is. It's basically, it's maritime economy maritime sustainable economy. And when you say maritime, it's almost everything from logistics to tourism, from fishing to biodiversity, anything that happens in an ocean. Our aim is to become one of the biggest blue economy hubs in Europe. And to do so, we will undertake this investment that will turn these old warehouses into this. It's a 50 million euro investment. It will last for 2 years. It shall host it's 25,000 square meters, so it should be hosting between 2,000 to 2,500 people in it. Basically, 1/3 of the company should be startups, scale-ups, and so on, and the rest should be corporate innovation spin-offs, should be academia, universities, institutes, so on, and also administratives. So let just different views of today and the future. Today, the future. By the way, up there you can see the actual World Trade Center. Today, future. This is one of the plazas. And this is the inside. Needless to say that all the building will be constructed in the most ambitious, sustainable construction way. I'm not going to bore you with many details, but just this building will spend 60% less of energy than a regular building, and out of the energy that it will need, almost 50% of it will be generated in the building itself with solar panels and with hydrothermic system. And also regarding water, all the plants will not spend a single drop of potable water. We will use the rainwater, and also gray waters will be used for gardening and for toilets. And if you come to Barcelona in September 27, this is what you will be finding. And the third part, as I told you, was social sustainability. We want to open ourselves to the city and the citizens. As I said before, we were closed up till now. We were not part of the city. People didn't come to World Trade Center. There was nothing to do in the World Trade Center. And also our docks were closed. So we are undergoing a very ambitious program to opening ourselves to the city and the citizens. This is what they are now. And this is what they will look, hopefully, by the end of this year. Okay? It will be a place to walk, to rest, to eat, and we are putting up in place a very ambitious cultural program with concerts, events, and things like that. That's Barcelona in the back. Some terraces. Okay, so I think I run out of time. I don't know if do I have time for questions. I don't know if there's no questions. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos. Now on stage, I'm going to call Mr. Atrash Tonoyan from WTC Yerevan.
Hi, thanks, Tony, for presenting. I know everyone is tired and looking for a lunch break, so I'll be very short. And I will sometimes elevate my voice so you don't get asleep. And also you kind of pay attention to the presentation rather than your phones. So in a nutshell, we're rookies, in World Trade Center Association world. We obtained the license back in 2021. At that time, our shareholder, he elevated the idea to the Prime Minister of Armenia, saying, that this is a great opportunity that would, serve a good purpose for elevating Armenia, bringing it up to the international community, to the currents of the trade and investments. And since then, the government partners with us, actually. It's a joint venture where the private project sponsors hold the majority, and the government of Armenia has 50%, but there's a formula for us to buy it out, and the remaining 20% they want to float on the local exchange. And this is the way they see how they want to return the public good that would be created to the public in a way. Well, since then, we embarked on a very ambitious idea of building something iconic, grade A, net zero ready. For that purpose, we are talking or hiring with the top, talent. So we hired GLL to do a feasibility study for us. They came up with the program of roughly 130 square meters of a mixed-use development. Estimated investment cost is 250 million. It's a mixed use comprised of grade A office space, retail facilities, hotels, short-term stay, extended stay, and obviously MICE. MICE as an infrastructure is in a high demand in Armenia because whatever we have is obsolete, dates back to the Soviet era. Same goes with the hotels. The density of international brands are not as dense as you might see in different parts of the Europe or the US. And with this type of aspiration, we announced an award, we announced a paid competition, and we had a short list of the best architects. We're saying 17 of them were on the list. We shortlisted 4 only. This is one of the renders that presented by SOM, authors of Burj Khalifa. They literally pitched their ideas last week in Yerevan. So that's why I'd be showing a few other concepts. This is the concept presented by Foster's and Partners in particular. But before talking about the architects in particular, on the left side, you see the current land plot. So it's on the right side, old Soviet era postal building. And behind, you see the dwellings, around 33 units that were buying them out. The land plot area is around 17,000 square meters, and something that we envisage to build, if it is by SM architects, you see on the right, you see the church is preserved, the area is being opened up. These mushrooms are social activation spaces, mice, and this is a high-rise tower. Foster's in particular, they came with a similar idea of opening the space in front of the church, building again mice above the ground, some promenade and plazas by putting 2 towers instead of single one. This particular on the left is presented by the architects from Denmark called PIG. Obviously, sustainability is an important part of our endeavor. All of these architects, they have extensive experience in, designing and overseeing highly compliant buildings in terms of energy efficiencies, waste management, and the water strategies. Obviously, currently it's not new to you because I see the developers are here that sustainability is kind of ingrained, either through passive strategies, which are shades, promenades, natural ventilations, lots of biophilic and sensory design. Research has proven so far that biophily improves the productivity of the people working, contributes to the decline of absenteeism at the workspace. Obviously, usage of the low carbon materials and photovoltaics. We aim to get LEED Gold and WELL certificates for this structure. Obviously, there's lots of communal space with the cafes and the promenades around that will significantly elevate the area, the neighborhood. MICE facilities, 3,000 square meters of a single ballroom. With that type of footprint, we want to, get into the game of the global players for the smaller events. 1,500 square meters for a plenary session, amphitheater, and some pre-function and support space. So all in all, MICE around 8,000 to 9,000 square meters. This is the proposal by BIG Architects, one of them, quite tall, 280 meters, I think. These are the 4 concepts so far that you can see. SOM on the left, BIG second, Foster's Partners the third, OEMA are the fourth. By the end of this month, the selection committee has to choose and award the contract to one of them. Then they will embark on the detailed design, which may last between 12 to 16 months. At the same time, we have announced a tender and starting demolishing this part on the left. And I'm actively talking to different type of investors. In the nutshell, this type of development in terms of complexity, quality, and ambition has never been done in Armenia so far. And with this type of approach, we want to create Yerevan as a hub for the region in particular, because our neighbor countries are Iran, Georgia, Azerbaijan, and the east of Turkey. So if when we build this would be unprecedented and would allow us to seriously consider becoming a player in the mid-scale MICE spectrum globally. So that's in the nutshell. I think I even finished earlier than my time was allocated. So I think I can pick questions because I have 3 minutes, right? As the last one, I have this privilege. Any questions? No questions. Lunchtime then. Okay, Ed, come on, save me, rescue. Ed the rescuer.
Let me ask you one question. What's your timing now? If you're going out to bids, you said soon for the selection of the architect, and then how many years do you think to construct?
It's 4.5. 4.5. So we hope to start running the show end of 29-30, unless phasing is possible. So let's say if MICE you see is in the back, maybe the phasing would be able to do so. We finish MICE earlier, we start operating, and then the towers come after this, whatever it is. So for SOM and Foster's, this solution is viable. For example, for OMA and BIG, it's kind of very much integrated, would be hard to phasing. But in our ideal case, if we can start MICE in 3 years, so it generates cash, and also, proof test the concept, and then we build the hotel and other as it comes. In terms of the hotel operators, actually, we shortlisted Hilton, Hyatt, and thinking between Accor or Radisson. Marriott is out because of the high density of the hotels present in Armenia, so they will be cannibalizing.
Which option is your personal favorite? Thank you.
Oh, hard question. If you ask me, I would like to go with SOM, but it's essentially collegial decision. At the end of the day, the shareholders are taking the last call. Foster's came up with also stunning program. So in terms of pragmatic numbers, Foster's is a little bit ahead of the SOM in terms of the area efficiency. And the emotions and aesthetics is already subjective matter. So I mean, it's like you don't debate that. And to the extent it's possible, we're trying to bring in the numeric parameters in decision making. But for example, with dealing with Foster's is quite hard. I mean, we're number one, we're the best. So it's a bit of a challenge, I think, especially when a country like Armenia is a little bit underdeveloped, because there are lots of dependencies for the people like Foster's and others to kind of excel in a way. The general contractors are not there. That I'm talking to few Chinese through French guys to come and participate. And by the way, if you can facilitate people like Turner Constructors, if they are in the region and interested, because we're going to run the GC international tender end of this year, probably beginning of the next year at latest.
We can help you.
Yeah, I think thanks for John Jr. He's very helpful. I'm in touch with him. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
1 minute. Okay, so before we go to lunch, if you haven't stopped at the WTCA booth, please do. The people are there, they're ready to accommodate.